Women are impressive. Beyond just work and deed is the constant spinning of a mind in motion, right? A beautiful brain that is always thinking ahead, anticipating change, and seeking growth. Those are the kind of thoughts we celebrate in our new series, On My Mind, where we invite women you know, love, and admire to share their current and candid thoughts. Now, I'm being totally honest here. There are a lot of flattering words I could use to describe our next On My Mind guest, but I'm going to start with achiever. Ruth Todd is a yes girl, an attitude which has led her to a wide range of experiences. She spent more than 20 years as a news anchor and reporter. You'll recognize her from her 10 years as KSL's lead anchor woman. She went on to teach broadcast journalism at BYU and serve as a spokesperson for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. After that, Ruth was the senior vice president and chief reputation officer for New Skin International, and she most recently accepted the position, lucky us, of executive vice president and chief content officer for our parent company, Bonneville International Corporation. And because we value one's personal resume as much as we do her professional one around here, I will add that Ruth is a wife, a mom, and a grandma too. Thank you for saying yes to this.
So fun to be on this set with you, Brooke. I've just loved watching Studio 5 since the very beginning, and you're crushing it. Can I just say?
You are so kind. Well, I won't go into this detail, but Ruth picked up, years ago, I was kind of at a crossroads. I don't know if you remember this.
I do.
And I was thinking, who could I turn to for advice? We had never met, but I had long admired and looked up to you. And I think through the grapevine, word got back to you. And you called me, and you gave me some lovely advice, and I'm so, so grateful for that.
Oh, good. I don't remember the advice, but I remember thinking you were even lovelier in real life than you were on TV, which is really saying something,
I appreciate that. I could say that about you as well. And I condensed that resume. You have had such an impressive run, my sister. When you look back, is it amazing even for you to see kind of the turns?
No, I mean, it's just like life, you know, just keeps rolling along, and I'm old, that's why.
You're not old. You are not. What is it like to be back at KSL Broadcast House? This is a kind of a 360.
It is. It's really fun. I walked in, and it was surreal. I thought I parked about 4 or 5 parking spaces for my old parking space, and I was like, wow, this is really deja vu. And it's so fun. And you know what? So much has changed.
Yeah.
And yet, the very foundational building blocks that are Bonneville International, that are KSL TV and KSL News Radio are the same. The commitment to excellence, and I thought, okay, this feels home to me, so I'm glad to be here.
I want to just touch on that yes girl attitude, because your career, your resume is so impressive, Ruth. There are a couple of standout moments where you said yes when perhaps you were unsure or uncertain. When the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints asked you to be their spokesperson, it was sort of a time of change and transition there as well. There were 2 presidential candidates who were members. The missionary age was changing. The musical The Book of Mormon was coming out, and all the media that came with that. You said yes, even during that time of transition. What prompted you to lean in there?
Oh, you know, as a journalist at heart, how do you not lean into all of those good things to sink your teeth into and learn about? And it was such an exciting time. I think someone, I don't remember who coined the phrase, but they said it was a Mormon moment at the time. And there were just a lot of things going on because of the spotlight on 2 candidates for president and all those things you mentioned and more. But it was such a learning experience for me. They also changed the missionary age at the time when I was there. And you want to talk about getting a crash course in crisis communication. Send a bunch of 18-year-olds out into the mission field, and you sometimes get some crises to deal with. But it was really easy to lean into that because I cared about what was happening on those landscapes, and I wanted to be part of that and be in the middle of all that. That's the journalism in us.
I love it.
You want to be right in the middle of all of it.
When it kicks in and you want to be right there center. New Skin called it a time that you weren't looking, but you decided to entertain the idea, and eventually you said yes, even though you've never done anything like that before. What was the why behind that yes?
I remember that like it was yesterday. I went down knowing full well I was not going to take the job. They had called, and I had heard, these are really amazing people. You should at least meet them. So I drove down, and after spending the day with the people that were the CEO and the chairman and some of the people at New Skin, I got back in my car, and I got on my phone, and I called my husband, and I said, you're not going to believe this, but I'm going to take this job. And he said, what? It's in Provo. We live in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Are you really willing to commute? I said, I want and need the experience of working with these people. These are remarkable people, and I want to learn from them. And really, it was simply that, the people. And working for a global company, they were in more than 50 countries at the time. And I thought, this is different than anything else. So the people, and then the chance to learn something completely new, I think is why I said yes to that.
You're a people person.
I love people and learning about them and learning their stories. There's the journalism. We understand.
Again,
you get this.
Comes full circle.
Yeah.
Well, we've invited you here. We're so honored to have you as part of this fairly new series here at Studio 5 to share some thoughts that are kind of ruminating in your head and your heart. Professional thoughts, personal thoughts, relationally thoughts. And let's start professionally. What are you thinking about? What kind of keeps you up?
Well, the thing that I think about every day is content.
Yeah.
The content of our lives. So they brought me on here to be over content. And Bonneville, we talk about radio and television here, but Bonneville owns many radio stations around the western part of the country and in lots of different cities. So I'm thinking about the content in all the places where we disseminate information. And it's really important because the content we consume actually ends up being who we become, I think. And, you know, we used to talk about content like the table of contents or what's the contents of that box or something like that. That's not what we mean. We mean content we create, content we consume, and we are consuming content 24/7. And so I think it's really important that we are intentional about the content we're producing, which we are, and then what we're consuming as people. So I think about that all the time. And so there are all kinds of different content. So sometimes you're in your car on the radio, you turn on KSL News Radio, you need that immediate content. What's the traffic hold up here? What's the weather going to be? When's that microburst going to hit or something? You need that right now. That's important. There's other content that's entertainment. You might get that on KSL podcasts. You get your daily news. And if you can't get there at 10 o'clock or 6 o'clock, you can go to KSL Plus and have that app and you can pull those things back. So the way we get content has totally changed and the way we consume it has totally changed. But I think that we have to go to trusted voices, trusted sources, and then be really intentional about what we want to put into our minds, our hearts, our thoughts all day. And I think it really matters. So I think about content all the time.
I appreciate the word intention. I think a lot of times we just subject ourselves as victims to the algorithm. Like whatever is coming at us, we're going to take in. I'm mindlessly scrolling. And we underestimate, I think, how that defines us, how the words that we read and the voices that we listen to, how that really comes to shape who we are.
Well, the power of that algorithm is that you get marched right down into an echo chamber of like-minded people and like-minded voices. And so that can be not a good thing for us because we only get to see one small piece of the picture.
We got to broaden.
And so I think we have to be intentional about where we're looking so we see many sides of an issue, especially in a political year like now. We need to really inform ourselves with good content from, again, trusted voices.
All right, let's shift to the personal. You're a Nana now.
I am a Nana.
How do you love that?
Oh, it's so much fun. You know this, and everybody says this, but until it happens, you're like, oh, they're just kind of making that up, but not. It's really fun because you get all the fun part, but you don't have to do the discipline or the the hard part. So you get the fun part.
You say you're often thinking of how to create a safe space for your kids and your grandkids now, even with distance.
Right. We live around the country. I have one daughter that's on the East Coast, one daughter that's in the Southwest. We're all over the place, but I feel like it's important to make connection, and fortunately, because of technology, we can. We were on a family group chat yesterday. We get together at least once a month, all of us, and we hear from all the grandkids what's happening in their lives, what are they doing, and it's pretty much chaotic because you've got all these boxes on your screen, but it's the people I love. It's the people that I feel like I have responsibility for. My own children, to support them as parents, and my children-in-law. I have 5 wonderful in-law children that I love like my own children. They're just the greatest. And, we have our ups and downs. We're a regular family. We have hard things and we have fun things. We have joy and we have trials. We're just like anybody else, you know. But if you can stay connected and give people a community within their own family, and I would add our friends to that. My friend groups are so important in my life. They lift me, they support me, and I think when you make those communities, then you make a better life.
I love that.
Add purpose to your life, you add meaning to your life, and by the way, you get to go in and do that for other people and be supportive. It's just a good community that you're always working to build.
Well said. In the minute we have left together, talk to me about your personal point of growth right now. I think it's interesting. I'm reflecting on what you said to your husband when you took the new skin job. I need this experience. You seem someone who is always seeking after the next point of growth.
Okay, so do you have a theme word for the year?
I do.
I usually have a theme word or a theme in my mind,
Yeah.
and mine this year for 2024 is prioritization.
Okay.
So I felt this way a little bit when I turned 40, but then, I turned 60. It was like boom, boom, and all of a sudden I turned 60. And I felt like, oh my goodness, I'm never gonna be able to read all the books I wanna read in this life. I just won't, there's just not enough time. I'm not gonna be able to travel all the places that I wish I could see or get to know or meet or speak with all the people that I would like to. So what does that mean? That means prioritize what's the most important.
You have to choose.
Do I have time to binge watch this show?
Yeah.
Do I have time to read this book? Is this book really worthy of my time? And you know, time is that great equalizer. Every one of us has 24 hours in a day, not a second more.
Yeah.
We have 365 days in a year. What are we going to do with that precious gift of time? And when you turn 60, everyone, if you haven't yet, you will really feel the weight of that prioritization. So how you spend that time.
I love that. I love that. We love you, Ruth. Thank you for letting us soak up your light and teaching us today. That's what you've done. We appreciate it so much.